Hi, my name is Mark. I'm a concept artist and illustrator working in the entertainment industry. And here I'm going to show you how to paint chrome surfaces based on a chrome creature. So first I just started to block in the main shapes. I imagined this is going to be some kind of a really advanced alien creature, more like a mechanical creature, mostly covered with chrome surfaces. So and he's meeting with a young boy on the beach on the first time. So this is like the first contact between these alien creatures and the humans. So I just quickly I had a pretty solid uh, image in my mind about the composition. So I just quickly blocked in on a really rough line work, just the main shape, how it's going to look like. And in the next step, I'm going in and doing a more final line art, just to clarify the shapes, just to put in a bit more details, and just to clear up clear up the designs. Although most of the design questions I gonna solve most of the design problems during the painting process, because most of the designs of this creature are going to come not just from the overall shape language of its body, but more the materials, what its body consists of. So I'm just using simple normal layers on top, and a simple hard round brush with pressure sensitivity to do the line art. It's not really the line art what I would use in case of like comic inking or something. But it's great for drawing, so it's pretty close to a pencil or something, even if it's digital. So I'm going in. I don't spend too much time with the details because I know I'm going to use a lot of texture work um, later. So, but I would like to sort of understand the flow of the different forms, and uh, what are uh, what are the exoskeletons, so what are the cover of the creature, and what are more the internal, more mechanical parts with wires and some sort of weird machinery. I'm also blocking in the kid quickly. I wasn't really worried about the kid because he's not in the focus. So the focus is more the connection between them, and the focus is more on the actual creature. So you're not really gonna look the kid anyway. It's more just suggesting the kid. So yeah, because I made a quite tight line work, it was really easy to just the magic wand select everything outside of that line work, and I filled that out with a middle gray, and erased back some of the parts where I wanted to see through the creature's body. Um, so yeah, switching back on, and I basically I deleted the first rough sketch, and I just kept the clean line work, and created a sublayer from that. So I'm working just inside the silhouette, what I created, that gray silhouette. So I created a new normal layer, and I just started to block in the main lights, so sort of showing how the reflections are going to flow through the to the body of the creature. And with a more darker gray, I'm also blocking in uh, the matte parts, what are not reflective. That I think that's really helpful. So if you create a really reflective surface, it's always good to add more materials what are less reflective in the surroundings, or on the actual same object or same creature or car or vehicle, whatever you do. Just simply because creating an opposition always creates visual interest. So your designs are going to be much more interesting if you vary up your materials and your surface qualities a bit. So yeah, just blocking in the lights and sort of trying to find that middle line on the curved surfaces uh, where the land meets the sky. So, and I just picked one of my old photographs for the background, because I wanted to create a really realistic image. So I thought it's the best way to do that is to actually work with a real photograph. And uh, but you can always do a painted background and just handle your reflections based on that. So I wanted to drop in the background, to have a solid base for the reflections, because all the reflections in the chrome surface are going to come from the surroundings. So I'm picking the colors from the surrounding areas and starting to block in both the reflective surfaces, and I'm also adding some colors to the matte surfaces in between the chrome parts. And I'm doing that to match the overall color scheme of the creature to the surroundings. It's That's a really important step to tie the creature together with the background you are using. So usually, first I just using the colors from the surroundings, but I also adjusting them as well slightly, because usually the uh, reflections in the chrome surface are about 10-15% darker than what it is reflecting. And that's because even if it's a really mirror like surface, but it's not reflecting all the photons, it's not reflecting all the lights back. So and the other thing what is really important is to keep an eye on your light source or light sources if you paint really reflective surfaces. So especially with these curved surfaces, because they are going to reflect back the light source as well. So you're going to see the light source, we're going to see the sun in the reflective surface, and the sun always has to be in the same part, in the same proportion, in the same direction of that reflective surface to make it realistic. So yeah, I'm blocking in also the shadow. That also helps me to keep in mind where the light is coming from. So I just picked a dark blue from the sky. I mean, picked the blue, made it a bit darker, and basically filled with the silhouette of the creature and the little boy, and made it as a multiply layer, reduced the opacity a bit, and just flipped it vertically and distorted to match to the ground under them. And it's already, the whole scene is already started to become a bit more realistic. Even the creature is not tied together with the whole environment yet, but just because of the casted shadows, they are becoming sort of part of this world. So, and I pushed back with some added haze um, and mist in the background. I pushed back the background a bit just to pop the creature a bit more. And now it's the point where I'm starting to add more shadows into to the creature itself, just to get the same amount of contrast what I'm having in the casted shadows under them. So slowly trying everything together. I'm using mainly overlay and soft light layers to get these, and I'm also uh, fixing fixing the silhouettes just to making them tighter and making them cleaner, removing all the weird artifacts what I had from the uh, just from the freehand drawing. It's I'm using elliptical marks and lasso tools for that. That's really those are really useful tools to achieve more sharper outlines and more sharper edges. And I'm also uh, adding a bit more detail. I'm gradually adding back to the reflections all the things what I added before. So like adding to the reflections the casted shadows what I introduced to the ground and so on. Adding the reflections of the other chrome surfaces, so introducing the double reflections, so the reflective areas are also reflecting back the other parts of the creature, not just the background. So introducing those, uh, trying to add more sharper edges where my chrome parts are meeting to the other more matte parts. So basically this part is where you start to tighten up your drawing. And I'm still working inside the main silhouette what I blocked in the first phase. Also introducing some sharper lines to the reflections and adding the same kind of haze. So at this part I'm trying to guess what could be behind me, so what could be behind the camera, because that's pretty much what you have to show in the reflections. It also has to tie together with what you see in the foreground, so it has to be the continuation of what you see behind the creature, but still it has to be a bit different. Adding more details, tightening up the reflections. And as you see, I'd also flip the canvas. That always helps to check your composition and the balance of your image. I'm using really simple and basic tools for this. So mainly hard run brush and soft run brush to add reflections, shadows, and smaller details. Nothing really fancy here. Flipping the canvas again, as I said before. And now, this is the part where I start to introduce textures to the image to achieve more realism. So I basically just start to cut out pieces from the background and pasting it onto various parts of the reflections. So they don't necessarily have to match exactly to those parts, but uh, because our mind sort of fills out the gaps, but it still have to match the pattern of the ground. So we have to feel it's something similar that we also see in the background. So it has the same color, same kind of visual noise. We see the same kind of visual noise there as well. And the other important thing uh, is to match the perspective of your surfaces, of your chrome surfaces, because otherwise it's just gonna be way less believable. So I'm using a free transform tool. You can access that uh, with the Command T or Control T from Control T on the Windows, or Command T on the Mac. And I'm always erasing back to have a smooth transition between the painted surfaces and the textures. So adding some clouds, so from the background. I'm not really concerned about the details, to be honest. It's what I'm after is more just an extra level of visual noise. What I'm planning to add to all the surfaces. And here I wanted to introduce some extra mechanical bits. I think I've done these photos in the Natural History Museum in London. Not no, Science Museum, sorry. Science Museum in London. So some engine parts. And just quickly dropping them on an overlay layer. And again, my goal with this is just to add some visual noise, just to have an extra feel that there's some kind of machinery inside that creature. And I'm only using the really messy parts, so you don't really know what they are if you see them. You can guess it's some sort of machinery, but we don't really know what it is. And that's my main that's my main goal, just to add some extra visual information and without spending too much time on painting the details in. So if you are designing something fantastical like this, I think the main goal is to not necessarily make it working, but make it look it could work. So make it believable enough. Even if it's a fantastical or sci-fi creature or robot. Of course, if I would design this for a movie, that this would go through a lot of iterations and a lot of versions to actually end up much more functional and a much more believable design. But this is the more about illustrating a scene and not necessarily coming up with a really successful design. Yeah, zooming in slightly and tightening up the reflections. So I'm always going back and forth. If I'm introducing photo textures, I usually paint them over slightly because I somehow much more prefer a bit of a painterly look in my works. So, and that's how you make your pieces more unique and more personal, I think. Yeah, and I neglected the guy bit, so I'm just starting to block in some colors there as well, just to so again I'm not really concerned about him. It's I know he's the human part of the whole story, and I should be much more worried, but I was more interested in the creature. So the little boy is basically just to add an extra story element to the image. The whole image probably would work without him as well. But it's also nice. But it's always nice to give uh, sort of like a human touch to your images. Something what ties the whole image more into reality. And then again, going back to the background a bit, this is just a compositional thing, so I'm adding a bit more contrast with gradients and with overlays. I'm starting to introduce some smoke, some just to show that the wind is like blowing the sand in the beach or between the beach dunes. I really like this effect. It's just, I think it always makes the image more lively and more believable. And even you can add, and with this kind of things, you can add an extra level of dynamism, even if it's only like a static image. So yeah, and I'm starting to introduce extra lines and extra details on the chrome surfaces, just to break them up a bit, just the seam lines. Uh, they are always helpful if, to understand how the curvature works on the chrome, how these surfaces are actually shaping, and so what's the direction of the surfaces, just to break them up a bit. So adding some rim lights to them. It's a small additional stuff, but they all help to add more, refining the silhouette even more. Final touch-ups on the silhouette. And yeah, it's flattened down the creature because I was pretty satisfied with it. So, and I wanted to add a bit more depth to the creature. So I just copied parts and added them to the other side, just to feel that the creature is actually symmetrical. A couple of hanging wires, what are again, and bits and pieces, what we don't know, like antennas or something. These are all the parts what's really minor details, but can really help to make your things a bit more believable, a bit more. So they gonna look, your piece is gonna look way more detailed with these ones. Even if you have done them in like 5 minutes, but just you have a much more intricate silhouette, you much more finished out silhouette. Going back to the boy again, just to add some extra details to him as well. Checking the compositions. Composition is pretty alright, so it's still readable from far. But I needed a bit more highlights to the boy, so that's what I'm doing now. Fixing the anatomy. Poor boy had a meter long, 2.5 meter long arm. Adding some shadows around the edges of the chrome surface. Adding some extra textures just on an overlay layer. There's just some small scratches, just to make the chrome surface a bit more uneven. I thought it could be cool to add some extra lights to the interior parts of the creature. Nothing really too much, just some bits and pieces So we should feel that this creature is actually working. So it's not just there, but it's a working machine. And I felt that scene, that line wasn't really matching to the perspective, so I just painted over and decided to add some kind of graphical element to that part. So just get my one of my custom brushes and put on this beehive shape, distorted it onto the surface. Yeah, and it worked quite well. So I tightened up the outline a bit, fixing the perspective to make it perfect to the surface, and adding some shadows and some lights to make it part of that surface more. And these are pretty much the final touches, just adding some extra effects, some extra sand blown by the wind in the foreground, some grass also blown by the wind, just to give some additional movement to the whole piece. And some extra holes and screws and things like that to the creature. I always keep it for the really last step, because these aren't really affecting the main design, the main image. So just some additional finesse. Some extra reflections. And yeah, it's pretty much done. Bringing with the sun, the last highlights. Adding some extra glows just to break the silhouette a bit more, where you have more highlights and more bloom. Introducing some color balance. So this is really the final step, just adjusting the contrast, the colors, just to tie the whole image together. Usually this is always my last step with every image. Get a bit more contrast in, make it a bit more cinematic. yeah, and done. So thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something.